And joining us in the studio for this conversation is MD CEO, Bama Farms Limited, Wale Oyikoya, who is in the studio with us. Good to see you.
Nice seeing you. Good morning.
And from our Abuja studio is former chairman, Bayelsa State Cattle Ranches Management and Control Committee, Kabir Shitu. Thank you so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast. I would like to start with you, Mr. Shitu. Ministry of Livestock Development has actually generated lots and lots of debates among Nigerians. Some are saying that it's long overdue. Others are saying that, well, what is the essence of having it when we already have Ministry of Agriculture? So it's just more like a duplication of the existing ministry that we have. What's your position on this?
My position is that, first of all, let's thank Mr. President for this bold step he took. This journey, I'm fully aware of it. It started almost 15 years ago, 2009, when President Yar'Adua appointed us as board members of National Commission for Nomadic Education. The first assignment he gave to us is to work with Federal Ministry of Agriculture to bring up this livestock commission or ministry. Unfortunately, we lost Yar'Adua and the board was dissolved. So we couldn't do much. And this idea we formulated, I carried out. In fact, it is when Senator Dixon, as a governor of Bayelsa, saw the blueprint in my hand. And he said, look, I've been looking for something like this because I know my people and I don't want a clash between the Fulanis and my people. It could go more violent. So can you implement this? So he called me, we went to Bayelsa, and we put up a committee where we have the Commissioner of Police, we have the Director SSS, and we have the NSDC Commander. Then the youth and the vice chairman of the chief in Bayelsa became. So we formed a committee. That is how I become chairman of a ranch committee. And between 2016 and 2020, which we were there, you can look at statistics. There was no violent, nothing. There was violence in Delta, and in fact, we even found out that some people kill donkey and call it cow. So why I give you this background is for you to see that after 15 years of putting up things, Mr. President took the bold step. Now that he has took the bold step, there are advantages that Nigerian is going to derive from this. What are the advantages? First of all, with this ministry or commission or whatever you call it, it will now bring some policies that will guide the ranch. What are the policies? The way we implement it in Bayelsa and have peace. When you now through the ranch, you know those that are the operators, how and the movement of the herders. And apart from knowing their movement, we call it cash cow. Why do white man call it cash cow? Everything in cow is money, from the blood to the milk you take, to the skin, to the horn. Everything inside cow is money. Therefore, it is time to now make it a business. And in making it a business, you now put up these policies that will help us. And if you look back, even Sardauna, they inherited these ranches. Sardauna, Awolowo, and Zik. Sardauna inherited the one in Katsina, in Jeba, in Plateau, just here. In fact, at those times in the north, the one in Plateau State, you had almost 2 million head. And then you look at even in Ondo or Ekiti State, where you have the Awolowo inherited a ranch there, and then you inherited this what do you call the ranch in Obudu, where we go for holiday today. It was a ranch. which was inherited by Zeke. They all maintain these ranches. Over time, we forget about agriculture and all this. So now we have to revamp this. It's a you will see a beautiful scenario as you get to ranch. You see a beautiful scenario in terms of businesses. You make more money by ranching. And then in terms of security, you know the operators, you know who is where, you know there are many things we did, like in Bayelsa. We give them a chip. So wherever you are, it's an ID card. We know where you are. If you commit any offense in any community, we know who commit that offense through those chips and other security measures taken by the state government. So government and the federal government should also now adopt that Bayelsa model, where with all those identification, with those security measures that can be given to them, they will be able to monitor the movement of the herders, and then before any clash, they will be able to get our men
absolutely,
there.
Mr. Shitu, I hear you. But we'll be coming back to you very soon. Let's talk to our guest in the studio, Wale Oyekoya. I would like you to react to what he said, looking at the reactions that have triggered at the establishment of this ministry. Some have said it is really not viable or may not bring as much impact as we want, and also considering that it's at a time that we are talking about reducing the cost of governance, the financial burden it will have. I understand that livestock also forms the bedrock of SMEs in Nigeria, about 10 million Nigerians, and also employs so many persons. But isn't this something that could have come under the Ministry of Agriculture?
Well, definitely it has been a failure on the part of the Minister of Agriculture. I think that's why the present administration took the bull by the horn. As my other guests have said, this thing has been on for years. I remember we discussed it over here too during the Goodluck Jonathan, that to really reduce all these farmers and herders clashes, why can't you separate livestock away from the Minister of Agriculture? Because if you look at the trends that have been happening right from Yaradua, the insecurity have always been there, and that is what is really affecting our food security today. Because if the security is not there, all these herders will just trample into your right and bring their cow into your farm. So to me, it's a very welcome idea if it is going to be well implemented. If Rampek is put in the round hole, I don't think we should have any issue, because the advantages towards it is very huge, especially in terms of value chain.
But if the Ministry of Agriculture cannot actually handle livestock, we should be under the ministry. Why are they there in the first place?
Maybe they just want to create, it's happening in other countries too. Like in US, they have the Department of Livestock. Though it's supposed to be under the Ministry of Agriculture, but if the Ministry of Agriculture maybe is too large for them to control, then it could be divided, so that the livestock will be one part and the crop section will be one part. But the problem I'm having, that I think we are going to have, is that we should not just assume that livestock is only for cattle. Livestock is very broad. We have the poultry that is well not neglected. Just the same way rice is being taken over for the crops. That you see that the federal government is always about rice, cassava. What about the other crops? What about the other vegetables? So the same thing with this one. If the right people are there and shining it, in fact, there was a time I suggested that why can't we have ranches in all the geopolitical zones? We have 6 geopolitical zones. Let's start the test run and see how it's going to work. And if the state governors, and I hope and I believe that the federal government consult all the state governors, because they are the ones that have the power to give out the land due to the Land Use Act of 1978. If the president or the federal government have not consulted the state, is going to be a problem, because nobody is going to give out their lands for grazing. Because when I was listening to some of these cattle, they are still talking about, we see half our grazing land somewhere that is there. It's about 400 kilometers. Those are the way back, we're talking about 50 years ago. So the land use are already giving the power to the state governor. And without the state governor's input, we're just wasting our time.
Mr. Kabir Shitu, let me come to you. Based on your experience, as a former chairman, Bayelsa State Cattle Ranches Management and Control Committee, because the moment people hear of Ministry of Livestock, the next thing that came to their head is cattle. And then he just tried to explain to us that it's not just cattle. We have rabbit, we have poultry, we have grass cutter, etc. But is this not also tilting towards the rejected Ruga initiative of the Buhari administration?
Thank you. This is not Ruga. Either it's called ministry or a commission. At that time, we wanted to do commission. You see, what will give, two things will come out of this. First, the security of the country. You'll be able to know the movement of all type of animals, including pigs that you are seeing, including all type of animals, all type of people that move, the movement of animal in the country. And then, secondly, this will open up employment opportunities, because why do we import fertilizer? Why do we have to import the dung, the shit of both cow, both pig, both all these animals are very, very good fertilizer that can be organic, or we can have organic fertilizer from them. If you look at the skin of all these animals, forget not only cow, both the pigs, both the cow, both the sheep, both all the animals. In fact, even some of the birds, the skin are being used for either shoe, bag, or that thing, even for chemicals. The horns are used. The blood are also used as for various either in the industry, chemical industry, or in fertilizer making and all that thing. So what we are saying here, this is money roaming around and then causing problem between the farmers and the herders. Why is it causing problem? And I've given you the Bielsa model, where there are security measures we took, and we gave them an ID card with chiefs, where any community you are, if you foment trouble in that community, you will know you are the one that foment that trouble. If you take your pigs and they went and spoil somebody's farm, or you take your sheep, or you take your dogs and they went and invade somebody's farm, definitely with those ID card in them, you know, or with those chiefs or whatever security measure is taking, you know where they are. We are today talking of insurgent, talking of this. How do you get to them? They go to invade villages. They took their animals. There are so many things I cannot say here on TV, on public. That is why I say the security aspect of it is even more. Nigerians should look at that. That will help Nigerians. That will help us to cover up all these menace that we are talking. And the economic part of it, it will create employment opportunity. If today, like in Enugu, you are not talking of going to put cow ranch.
But Mr. Kabiru, sorry to button your line of thought. Yeah, you've actually expatiated on the reason why we need to, focus on livestock just as much as we focused on crop production and all of that. But do we necessarily need to have a new ministry? Because the current administration already has 45 ministries. So we have something of that semblance, which is agriculture. Why don't we use this template to resolve this incessant crisis of the farmer herders and some other issues that have sprung up within this sector? Why do we necessarily need to have ministries? Does that mean that we'll have employment of hands as against what we already have in the existent Ministry of Agriculture? These are some of the concerns people are raising. Are you also not worried that this is now getting over bloated?
Just like when Ministry of Solid Mineral was created, this is what we are saying. But today, you have seen the advantage that some Ministry of Solid Mineral can give. And when you are talking of livestock, don't forget that it's a very large sector. And then you are also now going to bring the security aspect into it. you are also going to bring a lot. I had the one of the railway personnel saying that they will start taking packing animals from the north or from the south to the north through their rail lines, through their railways, rail tracks. So what I'm saying is that there are many things that will come into that. As at the time we are working on it, we are talking of a commission. I don't know what will have taken it to make it a ministry. And if you make it a ministry, I don't think it's bad, because it needs its own attention. It needs its own, you have to now give it a life. You have to now be able to put it in a proper perspective, that when you are talking of the business aspect of it, you are talking of the security aspect of it, you are talking of employment opportunity that it will drive, you are talking of using it to industrialize that sector. If you are, there are enormous tasks with that particular ministry they are creating. I'm not conversing for them. I've not consulted. I don't know anything about this. But what I'm saying, objectively, we should look things objectively. Creating the ministry, if it will help us to curb security, to curb unemployment, to industrialize by expanding the scope and be able to put up, when we had all those in 1960s, when the Oyinbo was operating it, you can see that in the 50s, you don't need to go and import milk, or you go and import meat, or you go and import any bird. We have everything here. Those places that the white men still left for us is where today we are using, like when you are going to Obudu. Obudu was a cattle ranch which was handed over to Azikiwe. If you are going to this Jeba ranch, it was a cattle ranch that was handed over to Sardona. If you are going to Ikunu or around Ondo Ekiti there, it was, as Amalia say, it was a ranch. Why do they create those ranch? Why do they create farmhouses in those times? We have to go back to that, to rejig our Mr. economy, Shitu, to be able to put our economy on the right path.
All right, we'll get back to you on that. Back to you, Mr. Oyekoya. Do you perhaps see a comprehensive approach, or how do you think we can utilize this ministry that has been established, of course, in addressing, the open grazing problem? It's also expected to address the farmer-header clashes, but we have on the Daily Independent, even Northern Youth, and members of the Middle Belt Forum saying this will not stop the farmer-headers clashes. I also want you to touch on the privatization of ranches, because you also mentioned the use of ranches, if that's also, viable.
As I said, it's a very good policy, but it all depends on the implementations. We always have good policies in Nigeria. But by the time you get there, by the time money is spent on them, by the time all the ministry, all the offices are set up, so who's going to monitor them? Whom are they going to be accounted for? Are we going to have another minister for livestock, or minister for livestock ministry? So I believe it's going to be a conflict between the Federal Minister of Agriculture and Federal Minister of Livestock. I believe it's supposed to have been a department or agency under the committee under the Minister of Agriculture. But the people advising the president, I get that is what they feel that they can do. But when you look at the set of people that are supposed to champion this thing, I don't think I'm seeing something positive coming out of it, like people like Jega, chairman of the APC. Come on. I believe the stakeholders should be carried along like the farmers. You don't
have as much experience, or you expect farmers to be in that committee?
I expect the farmers as a stakeholder to be part of the committee, or where the blueprint will come from, because, well, what does Jega know about agric? What does Ganduje know about agric?
Let's not forget that consultations were made before the establishment of this.
Well, either a consultation is made, what about the stakeholder? Are we not supposed to be part of the consultations? So, to me, the youth from the north, they have their vital informations about, is it going to solve the problem? But there should be some kind of reprisal that if you violate with what we are creating for the livestock, for the headers to be able to be in their lane, if you violate this is what's going to happen. Do we have that online, or do we have that in print, that that's supposed to be a penalty for violating? If they ask you to be in the ranches, if you are not in the ranches, you go to another person's farm to eat it, there should be some kind of penalty. Then all these AK-47 that the headers are carrying, who is going to collect it from them? Because it's already in circulations. So they use this thing to kidnap, they use it to terrorize the farmers. So there's a lot that needs to be done in terms of security.
So it doesn't really matter what someone has as a background when it comes to heading a ministry, because we know, of course, it's a political appointment and we know how it is done. Even outside of the country, what's his name? This man that wrote Gifted Hands, this doctor that wrote Ben Carson was actually made, he's a Minister of Environment or something.
Ben Carson.
He's quite different from what is, his specialty. So because certainly it's an appointment and it's just for them to oversee and galvanize people to do that. But you're saying that there might be a clash between the Ministry of Agriculture and Ministry of Livestock, which of course is the contention. But looking at the fact that we have various research institutes specialized in crop development like NIHOT, Forest Research Institute of Nigeria in Ibadan, we have RAIN, I think in the north we have IETA. So you understand. So we do not have any significant one for livestock except for one which is just having a semblance of it. So do you not feel that it's actually overdue for us to have it, and does not really matter who heads this department, who has this ministry?
I understand that. I don't know the last time you went to all these research institutes you are talking about. It's a ghost of itself, because I've been there several times to buy some of this crop. You see that they ask you 3 months before you come back. So you can imagine I want to plant oil palms, and you ask me to book for 3 months. And by the time you get it, might be off-season, when the rain is already gone. So what we are trying to say that, you see the grass.
Okay, so look at that issue, that setback for the institutes.
Yes.
They're supposed to advance on crop.
Yes.
Or the crop production that we have in Nigeria, crop management, etc. Even people from outside, some people from outside the country, they come to buy from some of these places. But you're saying that they're not exactly functional as they should be. So if we have that happening to agricultural sector, what about the livestock, which we don't even have something very similar to? So is that not enough need for us to have it, as a standalone?
See, we are mixing something here. The livestock and crops, they all go hand in hand. Even the special grass that this livestock eat, it's a special. It's not like the one we have where we're supposed to do the research on the kind of like alfalfa that most of the American countries or European countries use. It's a special grass that is going to fatten them, it's going to make them robust, because it's full of proteins. So all these things has to be harnessed. And these grasses are very expensive. I remember when I wanted to buy some here, it's about 400,000 naira per kilo. It's very expensive. So with all this thing, yes, definitely research and development is very important. I've been talking about it, that we should be able to enhance on our research and development. Without research, there's nothing we can do much to get the grants for the livestock.
All right, so back to you, Mr. Shitu. It's not the first time that we've had governors, northern governors especially, talk about the fact that the continuing insecurity, especially in the northern region, is as a result of a lack of political will. Do you perhaps see the establishment of this ministry as a move towards that? And if that is, what should be the first line of action of this ministry to address this insecurity problem in that region?
Thank you. If the agitation is there, but for us to be able to catch up, for the ministry or the commission to be able to do anything, you first of all take the census of who are involved in this department, and then you also look at how and how do you now get in each state, who are the operators. When I mean operator, who are the leaders of these herders? And then if you go to the south, where you are talking of also rabbit, you are talking of other animals you also take the census of the people there. So you now have the numbers of the people in those that are operating that's the herders. And when you take you have their figure, you can be able to now put up security measure, and then there are policies you could bring up where everybody will return his what you call the arms that are with them. And then if you are able to put a policy to recover those arms, and you are able to have community interactions, and then involve each of the community and put up committees that will be able to work this out. There are so many measures that I can mention on air. So many measures that we took, and then we had peace for 4 years that we operate in Bayelsa State. So those policy, those security measures we took are not what you just come to the television and be saying. But the little thing I know, we first of all take their census, know how many are them, where are they, who are their leaders, how their leader operate, how the movement, and then you'll be able, and then you, in the south too, you now put on and have a synergy between all of them. In this way, you'll be able to curb all these menaces we are talking, and as soon as we'll be able to get into the root of it, you'll find out that agriculture will start getting boosting. And then we must also now reorientate the mind of Nigerians to know that when you are talking of animal, it's not only issue of cow. It's issue that affect all of us. Sometimes you are driving in a village or in a city, you see this goat run and enter and then cause accident. All these are what we're trying to curb, because you take, if there will be a penalty that you must take your goat into those ranches, you must take your goat into social place. There are diseases that we inherit, we inhale from animals. When there is outbreak of these diseases, you will have where to take them. That's why you leave your animals in social place. There are many measures that you take. It has health problem solution. It has transportation problem solution. A lot of things that we took for granted. And then our population is growing. And as the population grows, you must take measures. And before I go, I want you to know that there are grazing reserves that are already been gazetted. There are over 100 and something, 40 or so, that have been gazetted. They can start from these areas. We have it in both south and the north, anywhere. And then Nigerians should know that this is a business. It's not issue of either when they brought the issue of Ruga. It's just, we shouldn't be frivolous. We shouldn't look at it as
that's right, Mr. Kabir Shitu.
That we need, that will help us.
You're actually not going yet, because we still have 1 or 2 questions to ask you. So, current situation we're facing in the country is the issue of food security. We talked about the issue of crops. Talk about rice, maize, cassava, etc. They are skyrocketing, and the president is looking to resolve these issues with very quick economic reforms by opening the borders and bringing in some of this food produce. How do you think the Ministry of Livestock will also interface with this ministry? Because the food security, the food inflation that we're having, the food security, is there a way they can connect? Because if they are working separately, is there a way they can connect to solving the immediate impact of food challenges we are having in the country?
Definitely. You can say that, why are you importing milk? Why will we import milk in the first place? If you go abroad or anywhere you go, early morning you have fresh milk to take. Here you don't have. You get powder milk or you get this. With this project, if this project comes up, you find out that at your own door, people will even be begging you with fresh milk because they have to sell it. So when the supply is higher than demand, people take it even up to your door. So there's serious synergy between both ministries. And when you are talking of importation of food like beans, rice, wheat, we need to, I can give you an example why I commend them for allowing importation of food. I have a flour mill, and then we work to buy, in fact we vow that we will not use foreign wheat in our flour mill. And then the federal government came in, brought seed for farmers, give seed at 70% to farmers and other input like fertilizer. The minister was running from A pole to the B pole to make sure that this project happened. The first thing that happened was that those they gave it to, first of all, I won't say sell it off. Now, with what government give you, they are hoarding those wheat. I can't get wheat to operate my this thing. And there's a wheat from 50,000, they've took wheat to 110,000 as I'm talking to you. And there are people that have thousands of it in a store. We approach one and say, well, he said, no, it's not selling now. So they are waiting until October, November that maybe they will take it to 200,000 that you must buy. Why are we going to be wicked to ourselves? This is what government give you 70% free. The wheat seed, the fertilizer, the other inputs. But now you are holding it and making people hungry. So if that is the case, we have to import, because we can't just like that. All I will advise is that as we are importing, let us import those paddy, those wheat that we can come here and put value into to be able to generate employment opportunities for our children. Because if all these industries are closed, they don't have raw materials. Because if you bring wheat in, it's raw material, you have to process it. And that's where we are saying, in the process of adding value to it, you employ millions of Nigerians instead of importing direct the flour or something. And then if you are importing rice, import paddy, import so that they can also, and if you are importing even beans, you'll be able to bring it in a manner that it will be, and then they have given a time limit so that we'll have enough food to be able to go to farm. While you are doing that as government, you must also now look at commercial farmers and be able to sponsor commercial farmers to produce. And then you have category A, B, and C. The commercial farmers, and then you have the maybe semi-commercial or those that have fed. And then don't put too much measure that will not allow farmers. And with the coming of this livestock commission or ministry or whatever you call it, you'll be able to curb up this menace of attacking farmers. And then this, if that is curbed, that is why I say there is synergy, and that is why I said we don't know
so it seems we are having issues connected,
those that
that's
sponsor
why
this
cannot
issue
hear
of
us.
ministry, if they are
Very quickly, back to you,
Mr.
Oyekoya, in the studio. I also wanted to talk to him about that, but probably having a problem, connecting to him. I wanted to talk about the viability of moving from even the nomadic farming that we have. Apart from cattle, we're also focusing on a larger scale, the poultry and also the fish. Moving from the nomadic farming to a more comprehensive animal husbandry system, like in more developed climes where they have veterinary medicine and other intensive care for animals that we consume, because there are concerns about the quality of even the meat that we are consuming. And I think recently this year we had a case of anthrax disease from livestock. So is there a possibility of that under this ministry?
See, one thing we have to realize that Nigeria consumes about 360 metric tons of beef in a year. But you'll be surprised that 40% of this beef are still being imported to the country. Actually, most of the meat that you eat from the most of these big supermarkets, not to mention names, most of them are from South Africa. I even have some friends that import them. So with this livestock ministry coming up, if it is properly enhanced and we support the president with this initiative, I believe it's going to reduce some of this importation of some of this beef. And as you said, even ordinary cat in some overseas, they have a tag that if it is missing, they just put it and know where the dog is located or cat. So, but the problem we are going to have in Nigeria, that even the human data have not been done properly in Nigeria, not to talk of animal, apart from the one that is going to be in the ranches. So that is why ranches is the only one. Yes, nomadic, let us believe that it's outdated. We are, around that time we practiced those things, maybe we are under 100 million population. Now we are over 200 million. And with technology and advanced use of some of these things, it's supposed to have, we are supposed to have moved beyond raising cow here and there. So with the ranches, I see no reason. If Awolowo and Zeke and the olden days can do it, I see no reason why we cannot do it. I remember in the olden days, if you see the cow that you buy from some of these farm settlements, you can get 10 of the cow you have today from 8. So we can go back to it. It's just a matter of implementations and people's attitude. Because our orientation is very poor. We believe too much in importation. If it's not from South Africa, if it's not from Ghana, it's not good. We need to change our orientation. We have to support the president.
All right, very quickly, Mr. Wale Oyekoya, how do you think the ministry's performance, can be measured, and what benchmark should be set to evaluate its success in the short and long term? Very quickly.
Well, you have to go to the market and see how this is operating, and you have to see what people have on their tables. That are they able to afford this beef? Are they able to afford this rice? Are they able to afford some of this food stuff? So when Nigerians say yes, because like now the singing mantra is Ebian power. So if all those things can be changed, that people are able to have quality and quantity of food in their tables, I think it's going to be a good scorecard for the president.
And also, we're also raising the conversation about, setting up a pathway of bringing in foreign breeds of animals. Is that also possible in this conversation?
Yeah, it is possible, especially from Kenya, from South Africa. They have the best beef that you can ever start. Yeah, even in the olden days, most of these cattle were imported. But then we started having interracial. We started mixing them with our local cows so that we can have enough. Because these cows are very expensive. Even to bring them down, it's only the federal government or private sector can afford it. So yes, with the livestock and the veteran that you are talking about, yeah, most of the ministries, especially in the state, they have so many veterinary departments that they can be supervising some of these animals or livestock once they are in the cage, once they are in their confined place. But I believe ranches is the best. And not only that, even the manure from these livestock, there's something we call interchanging, so that you can even remove this cow and go and plant there. So all this organic fertilizer will just come instead of this GMO that we are all clamoring for, or we are all afraid of this GMO. There's nothing like organic. Organic is the best. It's better than this GMO that everybody is very scared of about. But I'm not going to speculate on it, because the government have not really come out that yes, they are in full support of the GMO. But let's leave that one. But if the livestock can easily be picked up and is properly harnessed, I believe it's going to help both the crops and livestock.
All right, Mr. Shitu, very quickly, what do you consider you've talked about the opportunities. Let's look at the threats and some of the challenges that it might face in ensuring that this ministry, sees the light of day and then delivers on that mandate which the president will be saddling them with, although the president will be heading that ministry. But what do you consider the challenges that might bedevil this ministry?
You see, we must also consider those herders, their own culture and belief. This is where we'll have a little problem, because we have herders that are from Mali, from other countries, that believe that if their cow drink Benue River water, yearly they must bring them to that place to make sure they have, it's just like a fun, a carnival or something. So I believe that the commission or the ministry can also now look at, okay, how do we turn this the festival, because they can move, you can move them You have as the rail people are talking, you can move them to Benue River, you can move them so that they will also have their own life, not to be confined into one place. Those measures must be taken. And that's why I said not everything I will be saying here, because we have a lot. You must look at their culture, you must look at their belief, you must look that they also have families, that there are people, there are Fulanis in Mali that have family in Nigeria, that are even maybe in Enugu, or they are in Benue, or they are, and then you can't stop them from that tradition. Rather, you enhance those traditions to meet up with our own policy that we are putting up, and be able to safeguard any clash in between. So there are those areas that they have to look, belief and culture. Secondly, the challenge they might also be having, which is also an opportunity, is on how will Nigerians embrace it, especially when you see it as something of one group. It is generally, are you not having rabbit? Are you not having pig? Are you not having horses? Are you not? There are so many other things, goat, sheep, and other things that even our women can be empowered. A southern woman can be empowered with goat, because goat in a year can have 10 of 5 children, and it multiply, and our old women use it. It's like just a culture, a fun or something, and they are enjoying it. How do you build everything together so that this tradition and belief will not erode, and then it will not bring up a clash between all the party that are concerned, or the ministry and other agencies. So there are so many things. It is an advantage. I don't see any disadvantage in putting up this measure. It's a great measure that will help the country, that will advance the cause of our own living together, and then promote agricultural.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kabir Yusuf. Interesting insights. You've actually, given into this. Former chairman, Bayelsa State Cattle Ranches Management and Control Committee, Kabir Shitu. Thank you so much for your keenness of insight. And also in the studio has been MD, CEO, Bama Farms Limited, Wale Oyekoya. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your keenness of insight on this interesting conversation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And then before